Live. Welcome to today's live session, lesson 0 for the Expressive Ink Portraits course. The next 7 weeks, I'll be embarking upon a journey with, hello everyone, with a group of people. I'm super happy that so many people have already registered for the course. Today is the first day. After this live stream, the Expressive Ink Portraits course will be open, and the first module, I will release that after this session. And the idea of this Lesson 0 session is to cover some foundational practices and approaches to working directly with ink. And thank you so much to everyone who is here on YouTube and to everyone who's already signed up for the course and is joining me in Zoom. So there are going to be, each Sunday there'll be live sessions at the end of the week, each just bringing together everything that has been covered throughout the module and the lessons. So there's going to be pre-recorded lessons released each Sunday evening, and the following Sunday, just like today, there'll be a live session where we get to come together and talk and address everything that has been covered in those sessions. And I have my attention between Zoom, my workspace, and also YouTube. So I have a lot of places to look today. And I see that Cindy, Lisa, Alejandra, Michelle, Julie, Jax, Martina, Phoebe, Louisa, Jim, Jörg, Simona, Undine, Understanding Art, and Elizabeth are here. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has entered the giveaway. I'm going to be giving away one of the drawings that I make today, and I'll be giving away access to the course. So if you have already signed up for the course, but have entered the giveaway, we can find out some other offer perhaps if you win. And for those who have not yet joined, from right now and until for the next 24 hours, I'm opening up the early bird offer again. If you paid the full price, just let me know, and I can, if you want, I can give you the 40 euros back, or you could have 40 euros off of a feedback package if you like, because this is something special that I'm offering, one-on-one feedback and recorded feedback sessions throughout the course to deepen the learning experience. And there's also a bundle together with my other course, so they really complement each other. And that's like the promotional part of this. And we're going to get into the drawing, and I have a lot to share with you. And parallel to what's happening with the course, I'm doing daily 10-minute portrait live streams on my YouTube, which everyone is welcome to join weekdays. And I think it's going to be a really nice addition to the course space that will be learning specific techniques and using different tools. And throughout the live sessions on my YouTube, I'll be focusing on what has been addressed in the module that week. So yeah, these are some of the 10-minute portraits that I've been doing recently. And throughout the modules, we're starting with Fineliner. So really reduced line and gaining the confidence and putting the lines where you want them to go. And we'll be moving on to ballpoint and brush pen, calligraphy pen, and working our way to wash and ink wash. And eventually, the aspiration is that we will work towards doing some bigger, in-depth pieces. So this is a journey that I have been on for a good long while now, discovering ink. And throughout the progression of the themes and the modules in the course, I'll be kind of taking you with me on this journey of how I learned and how I'm still learning. So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to share this with you, because I have learnt so much using ink. It really, for me, was like a big, like wind in my sails as I was learning and still learning. And I'm really happy to be able to share that with you here. And kind of in the spirit of this journey of mine, the references that we have to draw from today, I have a bunch of fun references. The link is in the description, I hope. And I'll just show them to you here in color. Because yeah, I've been thinking about this course for a long time. So this is me, baby me. I showed this to my 10-year-old as I was putting him to bed, and he was like, I don't recognize you. It's like, it's all completely wrong. You've got stubble down the bottom and not at the top, that there's been a switch over the years. And so this was before I really was taking art seriously. Like I was just kind of drifting and traveling. Here I'm on a boat. And it wasn't until I was 28 that I decided and realized I really wanted to take art seriously. And this is me starting to take art seriously. And yeah, it's really been such a cool journey. And now here, me with ink. Yeah, these are the references we've got to work from today. And throughout the course, I'm going to be covering really brief practice. We'll be doing like 2-minute portraits and also working up to more complex planned compositions, and really working towards creating a body of work together, which I think is pretty exciting. And I'm really looking forward to moving through this with you all in the coming 2 months, really, and beyond. Who knows where we'll go from here. So I have printed. I've printed these out, so I can just work alongside. This was me in Portugal, and another space and time. I was making lots of music and didn't realize I'd be drawing so much in my near future. And cute without the beard, June. June is often has requested that we draw more people without beards. So I was thinking of you as I chose this. Yeah, let me know in the chat on YouTube where you are, what you're working with today. So I'm going to focus, before we, let me just have a look. I'm going to focus on Fineliner at the moment. So we're going to move through calligraphy pens. Maybe I'll move into some sketches later on with calligraphy pen as well. Let me just keep an eye on Zoom, make sure no one else is trying to join and not able to. So yeah, I'm gonna work on this idea of reduced line. And this is a very different kind of process to the way that I use pencil. And it has really helped me be bolder when it comes to using pencil and watercolor and all these choices, because the thing with ink is that when you put a line somewhere and it's in the wrong place, then you've just got to kind of keep going and deal with it or start again. So it really teaches us to focus and take care with what we're doing, and kind of adapt and just kind of go with it. So I'd like to, this is something, all of these lesson 0, I've done a few of these live streams now. Whenever I start a course, I start with a lesson 0. And I have often, so we could start with something, just a kind of loosen up, warm up exercise. And this is something which, again and again, if you've been here before, you may have heard it before, but it's always worth remembering, and just practicing. Even foundational kind of exercises are worth revisiting. But for any of you who are here who feel like they're not so confident with their line work, this is something that ink is really going to help address. And one thing that you can do, and I know many of you have already done this, is you just, rather than holding tight and being really close to the tip of the pen and working from your fingers like we used to as we learn to write, if you just hold a bit further back, and rather than just clutching the pencil here, this is good when you want to get into the details, but if you want to get some flowing lines, just holding a bit further back and moving more of your arm this is going to help to develop clearer lines, because this is something that, and they don't even have to be really straight, but doing this kind of practice can really help you to develop a flowing, clear line. And this is something that a lot of people kind of struggle with, continuing all the way through with a line rather than kind of doing this kind of stuff. And this is all part of the journey. But as we practice this kind of stuff, and practicing calligraphy as well, I'm going to encourage everyone to practice calligraphy, because that really helps you do decisive lines with intent, and is something which will really feed into like seeing where your starting point is, looking where you want to go, and just kind of pulling through to that line, and knowing where you want to go. So calligraphy, just filling pages with lines in the early stages of learning with ink, this kind of stuff, just writing the alphabet, or perhaps you have another something meaningful and beautiful to write. And I know there are other languages with incredible characters, which I've studied a little bit. I don't have a limited understanding, but Sanskrit and Arabic, and a lot of, there are so many languages that have really interesting characters and such a beautiful flow. And just mimicking and studying those can be super beneficial, because when it comes to, this is something that we'll be doing a lot as we're looking at the face and the portraits and thinking, being able to commit to drawing a line. Because we can't erase, we're going to have to like start somewhere and kind of decide, where am I going? How far does this line go? And starting to become decisive with it. And there may be some stage where you have to like kind of work through some hesitation. And I expect that, as I did, you may make some drawings that you feel really uncomfortable about the results. But practicing and just going through the motions of doing a lot of practice, a lot of drawings, is going to help just become clearer and more decisive with where you want to go with your mark. And this is something that, even just practicing calligraphy, practicing writing, is something that really can contribute a lot to being able to have that committed, decisive line. Because that's something I'm going to be focusing on in the first week of Fineliner Foundations, is how do we commit to that clear, minimal line before we start thinking about value and hatching, and we're just going to reduce to doing this clear kind of drawing, which we can then build upon. And this clear reduced line, as we move through the modules and the media and different tools, that clear line can become a really expressive line as we move to like brush pen, for example, that the line quality in one stroke can become something which really is alive and dynamic. And that is something that, starting with the reduced uniform line of the Fineliner, is just going to help us start committing to doing those long, clear lines before we then progress into all these other exciting tools. And that's kind of been my journey as well. That when I started, just learning to commit to putting a line in place. I think with ballpoint pen would have been the first ink tool that I used, and I felt very uncomfortable not being able to erase things. But then, so just getting a feel for drawing a line and putting it roughly where you want it to be, and then expanding to being able to within one stroke have variation brings its own kind of life and new exciting quality to the drawing. Some people are trying to get into Zoom. All right. Glad I looked. So yeah, wherever you're at in your drawing journey right now, it'd be interesting to know in the chat actually how people feel about ink. If you have much experience with it, if you're a little bit afraid, that's fine. It was very confrontational for me. And I have come to appreciate the fact that it took me a whole lot of drawing to get comfortable with making mistakes, realizing that, oh, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I can just start again. I can try something else. And a big part of that for me the past years has been really brief studies. So we'll start the actual drawing part of this stream. Marjolaine says drawing directly with ink feels a bit scary. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it's kind of safe. It's a safe kind of fear because it's something that we can practice and move through. And it's really, I found in my own experience that it really accelerated my confidence in working with other media as well. Kind of losing that initial fear because that's, it's a big thing. That the fear of doing something which looks wrong is not as nice as we would like it to be. It was definitely a big deal for me. And interestingly enough, the permanence and the kind of unforgiving nature of ink, once it's there, really helped me to kind of move through that. Jack says, I'm terrified of drawing directly with ink. Michelle loves ink. And Martina's learning. Yeah, let's keep learning together. All right, so a big part of this thing of losing the fear, loosening up, being all right with things not being all right is I found that timed practice is super beneficial. So I'm going to put the timer on now and we'll kind of cycle through some of these sketches. Lewis says, I don't have the confidence about my drawings with ink. It's so interesting, like how that kind of confidence is. And yeah, that we can, with one media, be really familiar and really feel at home with it. And then another one can be like, well, like I have that with oil. I love oil painting, but when I kind of switch back to oil, I'm like, well, why don't I have the confidence that I do with ink? That's something that I'll be working on in future as well. Jim says, love ink, but it either goes great or it goes terribly. Yeah. So I'm going to lead us in a round of really brief sketches. And I'm going to put on a 2-minute timer. I'm just kind of like flip through these references. Time traveling. We'll be time traveling together through my selfies. Lizette loves ink and almost never uses pencil first anymore. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, because that was my thing. I would do it all in pencil, spend a long time in pencil, and then use ink to affirm where I felt like I did it right. And that became a very lengthy process. And once I eventually became comfortable with just going straight to ink, it just kind of was speeding up a lot more. Sherry says, cannot draw you without the beard. Yeah, well, here we go. Maybe the first and last time. All right. It's great to see you all chatting in the chat. Keep chatting. I love it. And now let's draw. Usually I'm finished the portrait 20 minutes into the stream, and now we're about to start. Okay. That's with the 10-minute portraits. So 2 minutes, and just, yeah, wherever you're at, just start drawing. And I'm going to, as I mentioned, hold the pen fairly far back and just kind of stay fairly loose with it, and not worry about being too exact. This is like holding any kind of way of practicing where it feels like you can't control it, whether because it's just a really short time limit, or the tool is a bit big, or you just can't get the detail you want. These are kind of practices for me which have been really liberating. So as I'm moving along through here, I'm just grabbing whatever grabs my attention. And I found this to be really valuable with these really brief sketches. Whatever grabs my attention, that's where I go, and I just kind of start drawing. And this is something we can talk through a lot more about, how to flow and follow. But I've come to appreciate that whatever captivates you initially, that can be just a good place to start, and then just go with it and see what happens. And you don't have to capture the whole face, the whole portrait. And it can't be like a detailed, complete piece. So it's just it's just an exercise in looking attentively and seeing like what you can do. And it may not look like me, and that's okay. I'm curious if of those amongst us here, how many of you have done or regularly do self-portraits? The past couple of years, I've only done them during these Lesson Zero live streams. All right, that was 2 minutes. Okay. All right. And sometimes, like in these multi-sketch sessions, oh, this is interesting. The printout didn't work properly. What I like about this one that there's lots of stuff to draw. The goggles, the ear protectors, and I think that kind of thing with the Fineliner particularly, I really enjoy when I see there's lots of bits of stuff. So this is 2 minutes again. And like, oh, I see that there's things I want to draw. If you want the whole reference of this, there's a link in the description, but this is also part of the thing, like when things are imperfect and not exactly as we want them to be, if a third of the reference hasn't printed out, or it's really low resolution, just kind of go with it and see what happens. So having the reference, I'm basically just trying to echo what I see, whatever's alongside. I'm trying to capture angles and distances. Those of you who've been drawing with me recently will hear me talking about this stuff a lot, but the whole thing is just really a dance, a relationship between angles and distances. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I'm going to give away these drawings, or one of the drawings or something, as part of the giveaway today. So if you would like to win, then you can put in the chat, I want to win. And maybe you will. And we'll be also announcing from the Instagram giveaway as well. As we come to a close today, I will be announcing a winner for that as well. Yeah, so this is a really interesting process of reduction and being like, okay, what is the thing that I want to draw? As we start to expand when we have more time, then we can build upon whatever we kind of capture in this initial phase. But I think part of knowing that, okay, we can't do everything, even if you only, in that 2 minutes, only did the eyes and the mouth maybe, or just focus on one part, that just kind of going with that, whatever kind of speed you're comfortable with, and if you need to take a lot of time to look and assess what you're doing, where you're going, then that's all good. Take that time, do that. Here I will. So before I start this, since we've done a couple of sketches now, which is nice, I'll talk a little bit about something that I have found really helpful in moving away from doing a preliminary drawing and going directly to ink. People saying, I want to win, that's great. So cool to have you all here. Thank you for joining. So just to talk this through about, this is really interesting. It's really different than the other ones because I see really like really clear, bold shapes here because there's this lighter area. So I'd be drawn to just capturing these lighter shapes first. But even that said, things that I find really helpful when I'm looking at the reference is to, like here, it's interesting, I'm just kind of like drawn to this line, maybe because the hairline here is like almost vertical. And whenever things are vertical or horizontal, like we can do a pretty good job of judging if something is vertical or horizontal. So a challenging thing as we draw, as we're learning to draw, is like, and I'll just do this a bit looser here. And I just recently thought about this thing. If we see a triangle, right? Some of you may have seen this triangle before, but we see a triangle and you can see that this is pretty much horizontal. And if we then did a drawing of the triangle, which was just a bit different, we can instantly notice, oh, that's different. And this is something that I noticed in my struggles, learning to get things right, or trying to be accurate to the proportions and the likeness in a portrait, is that if I've looked at this and then I've drawn this and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I think I need to shift that angle a bit, and learning to see, so it's easier when it's horizontal, or if it's vertical. I think we have a pretty good sense, many of us, for recognizing that. But when it's a different angle, it's kind of like just trying to figure out is, okay, is that actually more like that? Or no, it's even flatter. Like we start to, if we can differentiate, start to see based on the vertical or the horizontal, like how far off are we with that? And this is something that I'm doing internally when I'm looking at the reference, or the person sitting in front of me. And if there's something that looks like it's going to be really helpful and clear to draw, then I may start with that. I'll put a timer on just a little bit, just to keep track of myself. Or perhaps the stopwatch, just to see how long I'm taking. So here, noticing I've got that may be something where I'm like, oh, that's pretty vertical. That's something I can start with. I have a starting point. So, and just putting something down to be able to respond to that's already the first step. And then seeing, okay, now I'm like changing angle here. And if I'm not sure, because am I going to go here or here? One way, which I find really helpful of gauging, just like that next step, I'm like, okay, if I were going to do this, do I want to go here with it? And just by putting like a dot, I can see, oh, no, that's kind of too flat. It needs to be a steeper angle. And then I'm like, maybe this, and I can put that down, and then I can like commit to that, give myself a destination to draw towards. That's something that I find really helpful. If you're not sure and you feel like you need a bit of extra support without doing a lot of drawing beforehand, that is one way to work towards getting like a really clear line quality. Of course, having a lot of lines and then kind of bringing something out of the mass of mark making, that is also a wonderful process. But in what I'm doing here, and in the first module, I really want to focus on trying to work towards a reduced, minimal kind of line quality. And it could also be like capturing the ear. That may also be something bit by bit. If you don't want to, it can be hard to do like a whole curve in one go. But if you can kind of look and break it down into segments, like that kind of thing maybe. And I have here, the earlobe here, just finding ways to make it easier to do. These are like some of these little techniques that I have found really helpful just to help me feel like from the blank page that I have some sense of knowing where I want to put things. And so now there's already a lot of information here, even though it doesn't look like anything yet. But within what I've got here, then I can start comparing, okay, how far up is this, the notch in the ear, and these forms. And so from those initial basic mark makings, can really start to layer things in and put things in place. And from the ear, I can kind of come across to the eyebrow. Oh, that's interesting. It's kind of on level with that. Coming back at this angle. And this is the kind of thing that I'm always trying to recognize. What are the distances and angles that I'm looking at? Even when it's in like a 30-second or a 2-minute portrait, just a brief sketch, I'm always like looking, comparing angles, trying to see how far down does this actually go. The negative shape, like this, can imagine this as a triangle in between here. What is that shape? And there's I find this is a way, like I don't start with a particular structure or system, but I'm always trying to look at how things are fitting, kind of what is the relationship between the different angles and distances in whatever it is that I'm drawing. I hope that that helps and makes sense because I know that sometimes, particularly for those who are not yet as experienced, to see a drawing just kind of coming to existence without understanding kind of the what's going on in here. I remember when I first decided I want to take this seriously and get better at art. I was 28 at the time, a bit younger than this. I think I'm 31 here. Now I'm 43. But I remember loving artists' work and just being like, but how can you even draw that good? How is it even possible to see like that? And that was something which was like a total mystery to me. And when I was thinking recently, when I just say, oh, it's actually all about distances and angles. Like it doesn't sound very romantic, but as we can kind of more and more cultivate our grasp of seeing those distances and angles, then the expressive element of starting to choose how we represent those different things, that starts to come more into play. And first establishing a way of looking and seeing and drawing, there's like been my foundation of then being able to do these kind of loose, really expressive pieces. So even though it sounds, I think it doesn't sound very romantic, saying it's all distances and angles. But within that kind of understanding, it's like then there's the opportunity to be free and relaxed and loose with it. And I think, this way of like assessing, judging, trying to figure out what the angles are, that is a big part of working towards getting a likeness. And of course, you don't always have to get a likeness, but sometimes it feels really good to do so, or you may want to. What is the intention of what you're drawing? If it's loose and fun, it doesn't have to be exactly right. But for me, I've kind of had that my own aspiration to work towards getting that kind of flow and confidence. Just looking at the chat and getting distracted. Hey, Sabra. Martina says, wow, who is this model? The references. It's a time-traveling journey. So I think I must be about 31 here. So I'm 3 years into my journey of taking art seriously. And this was before the birth of our firstborn. Who is this? I used to make a lot more music around this stage of my life. And then kind of shifted towards drawing. So let's now, we'll do a couple more 2-minute portraits because I think it's fun to just kind of cycle through all of the references. Since I have them, why not? Let's do it. This one has Pedro Pascal vibes. Um, so with that in mind, and if you do have questions, put them in the chat and put lots of question marks at the end. So as I'm looking through, then I can see, oh, there was a question that I can come back to and address. And I just coming over, checking in on Zoom as well. Everyone's saying, I want to win. How's everyone doing in Zoom? You're looking good. It's nice to see your little heads there. Yeah, so for those who are in Zoom, who are already signed up for the Expressive Ink Portraits course, as we progress through the modules, and the first one will be released directly after this live stream, whatever comes up for you throughout the week in your practice, when you're like, oh, I find this is actually really confusing, I'm not quite getting that, or oh, that really helped me. Those are the things we can bring to the live sessions each week as a kind of to expand upon what we've been exploring throughout the week in the module. The live sessions, the coming Sundays, are going to be, I think, really, really great learning opportunities. It's kind of like doing the pre-recorded lessons and then having a workshop to wrap up the module. Yeah, and I enjoy being able to help you all in your journeys and experiences. So feel free to ask questions. And June's question is a bit more disheveled. Me in this picture, a bit more disheveled. All right. So it's interesting, just in this drawing, like I see something different in the way when I slow down and think more about what I'm doing. This is kind of the slowing down to speed up, I think, is a really interesting way to think about things. But slowing down to really evaluate and make decisions, try and judge distances and stuff. It's very different when it's then this quick, expressive, loose, impulsive kind of drawing. And it's nice to be able to kind of tap into both and do different things at different times. All right. And maybe, just because I love it, I'm going to use the parallel pen now, which you can also use like a Fineliner if you just get on the corner, the tip corner of the pen. I love this pen very much. If you're doing the course and you don't have one yet, then you'll love it when you get one. Okay, TTFN1XB just asked, Dylan, how long do you spend looking at a reference before starting to draw? I do these weekly sessions where we start with 30-second portraits, and then there is almost no hesitation. I would just like look and start drawing. And it really depends on the context. I find there's great value in doing really quick studies, because it's like, okay, I'm just like, okay, what am I seeing and what am I going to draw? But when I take time to reflect, it's going to be a longer piece. I may be like, what is it about this which is so cool? There's like an interesting kind of shadow, the value side here. I'm not going to focus on that too much, just with this reduced line. But okay, I see some big bold shapes. So that can be really interesting to reflect upon before starting. But when I do these time sketches, it's like I just go for it. And that comes from 6 years of weekly sketch sessions, which I host every week, and everyone can join on Tuesdays. Because that's really helped me to just be like, okay, just see something and go. So there's not actually a lot of time that I spend reflecting about where I'm going to begin. But it's an interesting question. All right. That's a hard angle. So that's interesting. So that's something before you start drawing. It's like tilts and different directions are hard. Paying attention to that before you start can be really helpful. If you like realize like, whoa, this looks challenging, and you can figure out why. And so something that I can see here, like there is this angle, kind of like trying to get that angle, realizing rather than the horizontal that I was talking about earlier. If I see, okay, we've got that angle here, and then this angle will also be kind of repeating somewhat down the face. If I can keep that in alignment as I go down, that could be helpful to realize that before beginning. Or just trying to, it's like, oh, I see there's like this angle here. How far off of the vertical that I was talking about earlier is that? And here when it changes direction, like what's this big angle? Seeing that, being aware of it before starting can be really helpful. But it could also be something you pick up upon as you draw, or as you kind of draw the wrong angle and you realize, whoa, that doesn't look quite right. Then you can start to realize what it is that's going on. Hi, made by Reb. Nice to have you here. 42 people here. Amazing. This is my most visited live stream in a long while. So good to have you here. Oh, and by the way, for the next 24 hours, I'm going to open up the early bird pricing again for the course. If you've already paid more, then you could get the 40 euros back, or you could put that 40 euros towards a personal feedback package if you want. Just putting that out there. The link is in the description. I would love you all to join. All right, so let's get to it. 2 minutes. And I'll start with this 2 minutes, with these eyebrows, start to look at like where we could be going with, once we move beyond the minimal line of the Fineliner, like there's kind of a whole world that starts to open up. The possibilities are multifaceted. Okay, here I'm noticing do I drop the nose straight down? Oh no, it's not quite straight. And there's not actually much to draw because of the shift in value. It's like, oh, there's not much there. So I'm just gonna, oh no, that's too high. Come down a bit lower. Sometimes just drawing a little bit and realizing, whoops, that's in the wrong place. That can be helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, if I had put a dot there instead of a line, I could be like, uh-oh, that's way too high. But if you have put it down, you just keep going and it'll just be a compressed nose. But yeah, it's interesting to start to see and learn how to see the distances and the angles. Because once you develop more of a feel for it, and I feel like this looks like it's not totally accurate, but that's okay. I could have checked in with things a bit more, but it's just a 2 minute sketch, so I don't want to spend a lot of time kind of measuring everything. But I see some kind of inconsistency here, like this line now I think is further out here. Is the timer? Oh yeah, 5 seconds left. It's still going. All right. So that's, I can start to see here just that how the drawing tool can change that expressive kind of character and the feeling of the drawing. So this is still very incomplete, but there's this energy and flow to those marks, which I think is it can be really exciting. I love it. And it's fun being able to share it with you all. So thank you for being here. Here we go. This is another reference of me on a boat. All right, well, let's do 2 minutes again. And now looking at this, I'm really interested in what's happening here. And like all of this kind of back of the head, it's not that interesting to me right now. But I'm like, oh, there's a lot of really interesting detail and stuff going on in here. So noticing that this bit seems most interesting to me, then as I begin, I'll be like, oh, this is the bit I want to draw. Particularly since I know I don't have a lot of time, then I can just kind of choose my moment. What is it about this which is kind of most interesting to me right now? So that could be something that also is kind of spontaneously decided on the fly. because sometimes I'll find if I'm like further into the drawing and I'm like back here and I'm like doing hair and I'm like, hang on, this part is not that interesting, but this is. So just starting to realize those kind of things. What is it about what you see which is kind of captivating you, capturing your attention, and just go with that. And knowing that, I can just move more into the middle of the paper. I don't have to leave so much space for the back of the head. It was so funny when I was putting Arvid to bed and I was like, I'm going to go do a live stream. I'm going to draw myself from the past. And he flipped through all these and he's like, I don't know this person. It's like, I don't know this one. I don't know this one. And it was funny, that first one, the baby one with no beard, he was like, das ist völlig verkehrt. And he's like, the stubble down the bottom, the hair up the top, like it's all backwards. It was so funny. So as we progress through the modules using different tools, and we start to be able to switch between the choices that we make. It's like, okay, do I, rather than just trying to get the angles and distances right, it becomes this thing of like choosing, oh, how do I actually want to set the line here? What is the kind of most interesting way the most interesting choice to communicate what it is that I'm seeing. So that becomes really interesting as we start using tools that have a more variation in the way we can use them. So this is still, I would still consider it a line drawing, but just the variation in the line quality starts to get really exciting. Sherry just said in the Zoom chat that the Pilot 3.8mm pen, the parallel pen here, is available on Amazon for cheap. Use a blunt needle or syringe to refill the cartridge. Exactly. I have never refilled the cartridge in here. I use this, which is not blunt, but be careful. Use a blunt needle. Be very careful, because you can also make a big mess when you're refilling the cartridges. It's almost been an hour already. All right, I'm going to come back to the Fineliner. From this mass of dark value here, a lot of people say, how do I draw your beard? And anything that seems kind of overwhelming and complicated, like the hand as well, just draw the outline. And that's a way where, when I'm simplifying and reducing things and just getting started, I want to simplify it as much as possible. So let's do that now. We don't need to draw everything. There may be a lot of beard hairs in there, but we don't have to draw them. Krista just said, just saw some old pics of my mum yesterday from when I was born. She was younger than I am now, and she just looks so cute and little. Yeah, it's so sweet to look back through time like that. I appreciate seeing my parents when I was little and they're younger than I am now, and it's like, what? All right, 2 minutes. Yeah, so here, even though I see there's so much going on, and there's all this like tonal value and stuff, this is really interesting, that silhouette, the edge is really interesting, just kind of trying to capture that form. And here I think I didn't lift the pen, like just trying to capture that in one flow is a really cool exercise. That's something we'll practice a bit. Yeah, and I was about to say there's so much tonal variation and it gets really dark, but I want to see what are the main interesting shapes and how can I, in a really brief time, just do what I can to capture those reduced, try and reduce the complexity of what I'm looking at by just capturing big shapes. So then it becomes a lot less focused on the individual features and really start looking at the big forms. And that's also a way in this kind of limited time frame. And it's different with every face, every reference, everything we draw. Sometimes it will be like you'll have these really big high contrast shapes, and I love it when I see those kind of things. It's like, oh, I can just draw that shape and it's going to really quickly look like something. And sometimes it might not be as clear and noticeable what it is about the image that we can really grasp onto as we're drawing. But just trying to simplify things, even though there's a lot of value variation, just to try to switch into a mode of looking where we're not getting caught up in all that variation. Just really trying to simplify. Yeah, and so that was 2 minutes and a very different drawing. All right, Cheryl has another tip. Faber-Castell pit liners are now available in chisel point if you want an alternative to the Pilot pen. Really? But they're markers though, right? Not a nib pen. Because somehow markers, I feel, have like a really different quality to the flow of the ink in a nib. Yes, Reba, this one is really about the negative space. Exactly. Just recognizing those shapes and being able to, that's something that we work on, being able to put things quickly, like in the right place. That if you can switch into just seeing those shapes and the way those angles and distances are interacting, then that's like the shortcut to being able to reduce it, put things in place. And then if you have more time, if you feel it's working out and you want to expand into doing some rendering and detail, then you can already know in 2 minutes if it's like, is this worth going further? And that, I think that is something which is really exciting, that if in 2 minutes you can be like, oh, this looks interesting. Because sometimes maybe half an hour into it thinking like, what am I doing? And that's something with this brief practice to really, really quickly kind of get a feel for it, whether you feel like you're going in the right direction, or if it feels like it's something you want to pursue. So I want to draw a bit more, but we're already an hour in, and there's a giveaway to announce. I wonder, I wish I had a way that would be really entertaining as I figure out who wants to win. Annette just happened to find this page. Amazing. Welcome to this page. Everyone who's here, if you have not yet, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. It's about time you did so. And every weekday at 10 a.m. German time, I do a 10-minute portrait practice, and I would love you to come and join those. These are 2 minutes. Imagine what we could do in 10. Okay, so I'm going to... all right. You can chat in the chat amongst yourselves. I'm going to go through here, seeing who says I want to win. So there's 2 giveaways happening at the moment. There's one from Instagram, where already in advance I have written down a list of names. I have the random number generator to pick the winner, and then there's the drawing giveaway. For everyone who's here right now saying I want to win. And I just realized, Lewis, I have another drawing I need to send you. All right. So how can we keep this interesting? Is there someone in the chat who can keep everyone entertained? If you have a question, you could put it in the chat now, and I will address your question once I've got through here. And then you could maybe tell me, do you want me to start another drawing, or to elaborate upon one of these 2-minute beginnings that I've already made for the duration of this? Because I'm really happy to address any questions you may have. Questions about the course, questions about how I see and think about things. So what am I going to do? I have an idea. I'm still here. I'm going to count how many people said they want to win. Looking at Zoom as well. All right, now I'm going to get my random number. And I will, as we move on, once I've figured this out, I just need to concentrate for a minute. But those of you who are in Zoom, once I've got this bit figured out, I'm happy for you to unmute and ask me questions with your voices. That's always really a nice thing to do as well. So, all right, drum roll. This is for the drawing. Who wins the drawing? How are the kids? The kids are good. They're challenging, but they're good. Greetings, greetings. I see all these lovely people in the chat. It's so nice to have you here. Okay, Simona, B8P2R, are you still here? Mixing colored ink. That's getting pretty advanced. Well, a couple more people jumped in on that. So for the drawing, Simona BP82R. Yes, you are still here. Can you use waterproof ink in a parallel pen? I believe so. I don't, because I like it being wet. And for the Instagram giveaway, just wait a moment. Happy to see everyone chatting in the chat. Okay. I wish there was a really faster and exciting way to do this. But all right. Sketcher S24, Sandra, you're the winner of the Instagram giveaway. So get in touch. I know you've already signed up for the course, so you can either pass it on to someone else, or we'll figure something out how to apply the giveaway that you just won. Thank you so much to everyone who played along. It's always fun. And Simona, B82PR, you write to me somewhere, Instagram, send me an email, dylan.illustration@gmail.com. Congratulations, and thank you everyone. Okay, look, are there questions? Do people ask questions? And if you're in Zoom, you can just ask me a question with your voice now if you feel so inclined. Yeah, you can put waterproof ink in a parallel pen. So you can refill a parallel pen with colored ink, permanent ink, water-soluble ink. I really like water-soluble ink because then I can take that ink and use it for a wash. But yeah, if you wanted to use it in combination, like the line work with waterproof and then like put watercolor on top of it, I think that would work as well. The drum roll. Thank you for the drum roll. That was the perfect emoji. Lizette started to draw again 2 years after a 35-year break. Excellent. Welcome back to drawing. Yeah, that's so good. Sherry says, who's right to use a wet ink with a paintbrush? That is something that we will be moving towards in the 6th module is ink and brush. And that big piece I showed you in the beginning, I did 54 of these, the 30 by 30 centimeters, and it was a lot of ink, a lot of wet, and I'll be able to explain my whole process of getting I feel like I do it in quite a controlled way compared to a lot of cool stuff that I see. So I feel like I have kind of a formula, an approach that we're going to be working towards throughout the course, which is going to get towards having the confidence to experiment with this kind of stuff. Because if you've done a 2-minute drawing and it's okay, then you can kind of feel free to experiment and play with a brush on top of it. So that's part of the value I feel of these quick sketches as well, is just having to do something, and if you start experimenting with the wet ink and the brush and something goes wrong, it's like a pretty low level of commitment compared to having spent 5 hours doing the drawing and now I'm afraid to paint it, which that's been my journey. So I did these 5-hour paintings, these portraits, and after doing 54 of them, I was like, I need to loosen up. And that's been my journey since then, has been working towards how can I bring a kind of loose, expressive quality to something when I also am doing a more finished piece. And it's kind of a really interesting kind of dance and balance between those. Thank you, Lewis. I'm glad you like it. Okay, so I don't know if anyone weighed in on what I should do now. But I will do, what should I do? If someone tells me, or if someone has a question, that's what I'll address for the next 15 minutes, and then we can call it a day. Perhaps Simona, because you get to win one of the drawings, or you could have the whole collection if you want. But if there's something you would like to see me take further, or to, or if you think something's really cool as it is, and like don't change that, you let me know. This is interesting. This is the first one. I feel least good about this, so maybe it would be interesting now at the end of the session to return to this reference, the baby Dylan, Dylan the beardless. Wait a minute. Show us again. What are we showing? Perhaps I could return to this. And Sandra, great. I'm happy about your happiness. For those of you in Zoom, are there any questions? Or you're just kind of contentedly participating, watching, drawing along? Because I like these sessions to be about. Hey Sherry. Okay, how to do the jawline in this piece, this reference. Okay, all right, let's look at the jawline. Yeah, this is interesting. Martina says, "Lol, yes, baby Dylan." Okay, baby Dylan. The last one. Would you like, Simona? Would you like it to stay as it is? Jim has a good question. My immediate impulse is to start shading the darkest areas, but I just seem to stick to the lines. Is that the approach? Yeah, especially in this brief time frame, like looking at this kind of thing. If I am like, okay, I don't have a lot of time, what are the big interesting shapes? If I already start trying to render it in that brief time frame, the step between having a really brief, expressive, like something captured in that brief time frame, and starting to render it. Once you start doing that, that can be the difference between something really simple and brief, and it could be the next, as depending on the process, the reference, and how you're working. It could be the difference between a 2-minute sketch, which is like, hey, this is interesting and fresh and cool how it is, and as you start hatching, that could be like, oh, now it needs like if the balance shifts away from the simplicity of what you have, and then it may need like another half an hour until you kind of feel like you've got an imbalance. So it's really interesting. Like, how do we start making the decisions when we start rendering, hatching, and that's something we'll get into in the second week with ballpoint pen. Because I feel like I set myself up for knowing where I want to put the value. So I saw the big shapes here, and that's what I focused on. So I know if I wanted to spend more time on it, then I could kind of start moving into those spaces. But it would be really a shift in the amount of effort and time that goes into it. So it depends how much time you have, what your intent is, like what you want to do. Jim, that was a good question. You like as it is? All right. Then so it shall stay, and it's yours, Simona. Now let's look at my baby jawline. So this is interesting. Should this be with Fineliner or Paler pen, Sherry? This was your question. All right. So the angle here, like trying to get that angle right, is a big thing. So looking back to the triangle I talked about earlier on, and trying to recognize what is the angle. And this is the thing before starting. So I'm going to, very unorthodox, but I'm going to start this portrait from the jawline. And maybe, as often the case, maybe we're like, oh, I don't know. I find it difficult to do chins and jawlines. That's chins, as I know, is something that people have had challenges with. There may be something which is hard to do, so we just kind of tend to leave it alone. But here, like, I think there are a couple of ways. Also, so the dots I talked about in the beginning, like trying to get that angle, the curve, right? There's a couple of ways I kind of may think about this. If I start from the top of where it looks really dark here, start from here and kind of choose my place. And I'm not sure about how I want to do it, but I see it's like this steep drop down here, and at some point it's kind of changing direction. And I have had people comment about my angular way of drawing. Sometimes, if I'm not sure about how the curve really is, I may try and, okay, from here to here, try and gauge that. Oh, here's this little dot of that searching dot. And I can kind of, like, I can draw from here to here. Having put that dot down there, I kind of give myself something to draw towards. Now I see it's even steeper than that. But this being in place, there's a bit of thickness to the facial here, so perhaps I could use that to try and get away with that a bit. I've just put a new line. I feel like that's a bit closer. And then from here down to here, trying to gauge that. And sometimes this invisible drawing is something when I'm trying to be like, is it from here to here? Do I feel like, is that right? Like, that is something that I do sometimes, just to try and get a feel for where's the destination of the next part of the line. So that could be something that may help. And there's a bit of a curve. It's not really straight. So this is one way. And by doing this, trying to figure it out piece by piece, and just echo that line, trying to do it as kind of faithfully as I can in pieces, like that can help. And as I continue and keep practicing, then perhaps I'm going to move towards being able to make those decisions in the flow of the line as I'm doing it. But for now, if I just want to take a bit more time, and that is a big important lesson that I learned from ink as well, is like, if I keep just rushing in and keep feeling like, well, it doesn't look right, then perhaps I need to just take a moment before making that mark. because here it's like, oh, if I did that, but then I realized, no, that's actually not what I want. So I think perhaps what the challenge is of the jawline is there is like a couple of clear kind of directions, but there's that like gentle curve at the same time. So if you can simplify it for yourself by however you see it, like changing it into a reduced, like a couple of pieces, even though it's a one flowing line, just finding a way to make it more smaller pieces, which kind of together will become the flow. And perhaps, so what I was saying about drawing angular, in the past, I feel like I would have maybe done this and then done it with a bunch of angular lines to try and get it in place. And there's more of a curve here. And then potentially, like if that feels right and you want it to be a bit softer, and here with the thickness of the facial hair, there's like a bit of, it's a bit more forgiving because you can kind of add something to that. But once you've got that in place, then perhaps like, okay, it's made of lots of separate straight pieces, but then kind of like flowing with that and like drawing over that, using that as your own kind of guide to continue down. That is maybe one way as well. Because I think for a long time, and maybe sometimes I still do, I would simplify things into straight angular lines. Yeah. So I think that's the jawline. That's that line, and then I really like the thickness here. So this is also interesting. Like with the calligraphy pen, the parallel pen, you can in one movement you can get great thickness and variation and stuff. And you can also build that up with the Fineliner. So you could work towards having a more calligraphic quality in the line variation, which is like very different to everything else I've kind of been looking at. And that is something you could do by building it up. Or once we have that line in place, then perhaps adding a bit of stubble. That could also be a way to kind of fill out the line a little bit without getting too heavy. Each additional mark that we make can potentially be distracting unless you get it to a level where the whole piece is kind of in balance. So that's why in the first module, I'll be working towards having a really reduced minimal line. And that doesn't have to be the final destination, but I feel like it's a really great way to simplify. So now it's interesting. I'm like, oh, do I have enough space up over here? I don't know. But here it's like, okay, there's interesting. The edge of the bottom lip going up to the corner of the mouth is kind of parallel with the cheek. There's this little, that's interesting to notice. And now, how far do I go with the mouth? This is this thing like looking to what I've drawn here. If I were to drop down vertically from the corner of the mouth, I see about here where I'm changing direction in the chin. I want to take the corner of the mouth, which is almost horizontal, to about here. So that's going to help me figure out how far do I go with the mouth. And these kind of things, looking at the alignment and the stacking, so hit from here to the corner of the mouth, if I went straight up, then I'm like, oh, then I can see maybe where the pupil is. That's interesting to notice as well. So I'm not there yet, but keeping that in mind, that can help prevent like skewing things too far. Here, like before drawing here, and if I want things to be more accurate, then I really pay more attention with the reference first, compared to the 2-minute drawings where it's more of a free-flowing process. Like to check in with that. But it's interesting. Sometimes this could like lead towards more accuracy, but there's often something in the spontaneity of the quick sketch which has this its own kind of dynamic energy, which is really interesting. Like that's something I've noticed in my own practice, that sometimes when I'm more careful and more exact, I don't necessarily enjoy the result or the process more. So it really depends on what our intent is with the sketch that we're doing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've made this too small. Oh well. How do you feel with the jawline with that, Sherry? Was that helpful? Yeah. Christian has a raised hand. Would you like to say something, Christian? Through my practice, as I was saying earlier, of doing a lot of quick, kind of spontaneous drawings, I usually start at like what grabs my attention. I wouldn't have usually started down here. Uh, I think here I would have been eyes and eyebrow, because there's high contrast. It's kind of, and that the thing that grabs our attention when we look at the image, and this is something I've realized that through doing a lot of quick sketching, and that thing of not hesitating too much before just starting, that I'm typically drawn to start at the thing which I find most interesting. And sometimes it could be really odd depending on what I'm looking at. Sometimes it could be like the shape of like a hat and a hairline kind of intersecting, like, oh, that's interesting, and just kind of starting from there. So I don't have like a set rule or system to the way that I'm doing it, I think. But here, because the eyes are like so high contrast, like engaging, I probably start there. And often, if there's glasses, I will often start with the glasses, because I feel they really can be really helpful. Now I'm feeling I have to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I noticed that when I like the stuff that I feel like is really important and engaging, that I may slow down, give it more focus and attention, be more careful. And then when there's something which feels like not as important, but potentially it's still interesting, like this hair is interesting, but it's not that, I feel like it's not as important. So after kind of slowing down and focusing on what really kind of grabs my attention, then there may be other areas where it's like just be more kind of loose with it. Because it's also interesting to have like different kinds of resolution and focus, that we may be really attentive to something and then can be more loose in another area, and that could lead to a more enjoyable process, and potentially an interesting like result as well. This is interesting. I'm having started with the jawline and like squished down the face over here. I'm not loving what's going on. I feel like this is way too big. But that's how it is. Maybe this would be coming a bit further here. Multiple jawlines. But sometimes in this process of like realizing, oh, that's not quite right, and adjusting and drawing on top, like it leaves the evidence of our decisions and decision making in the process. And sometimes just kind of, if we notice like, oh no, that's not right, and then just redraw, like sometimes that can be really interesting and educational for ourselves to realize like, oh, I should have perhaps paid a bit more attention there. Or I think as I switched from this to this, there was something where I got a bit too tight. But now as I adjust that line, I feel like maybe it's going to be okay. But yeah, that's really interesting with ink. As we do things and then realize like, oh, that's kind of not, that doesn't seem to be where I want it to be. That becomes interesting. Like, how do you then deal with it? Do you just like expand the whole thing, or is there some way that you can maybe change something so that it's still in balance. And I feel with this kind of reduced line approach, that also helps when you realize, oh, that's in the wrong place. Because if you've really gone straight into the hatching, like Jim was saying, you see something and then it's like you're really into hatching. And if you really start hatching something, like if I had done all of the beard over here, or the stubble, then it would have just been full of this darker value. And when I realized, like, oh, that's actually perhaps a bit wide, having less lines put down, then I have kind of more freedom to adjust things. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of this kind of restrained line approach, which is definitely not the only way. Like a continuous line drawing where there's just like lines everywhere and that's also a wonderful thing to do. But in this approach, I really want to keep it kind of reduced. And that's kind of like throughout the whole course, I've thought about the sequence of the tools and the kind of approach to materials in a way which I feel like each one kind of feeds into the next one. And by the end, we have a lot of options available to us. Like here as well, I drew this line and I realized that's not the top of the hair. That's like way too compressed and flat. And then I can just kind of leave that line there and move up a bit higher. But yeah, the trajectory of the course is like starting with this reduction and with really brief practice, because I think doing a lot of drawing and a lot of quick drawings is really helpful. Something that I have come to love and appreciate, because as I said earlier, I can now in 2 minutes already have a sense of like, does this look right? But already here, and maybe in the watching of this feels like a totally different process to me because I haven't set a timer. I'm just kind of expanding out to fill the time, and my whole process and the way I'm looking and drawing and making marks has become something really different. And there's something about the time limit, which really like it switches me into a different way of looking and drawing and thinking. And I think it's great to have time and just work into the time and for it to be expansive and to just go with the flow for what you feel like it needs, keep adding, adjusting, changing things as you kind of start recognizing more in the piece. But yeah, I feel like if earlier on I had done a lot more really quick sketching, that I would have we all go through our process and learn the way we learn, and it's all exactly as it is. But I feel like had I realized earlier like how beneficial it would have been to do a lot more quicker sketches, I probably would have, I hope I would have done it. And I feel like that's something I hope I can kind of encourage you towards as well, like that the brief practice, even if you want to do big complex paintings, just developing the confidence to put marks down, make decisions, that is something that the brief sketching has really helped me so much with. Yeah, and I time and time again, when I then switch into not setting a timer and not having a real kind of predetermined idea of what I'm doing beforehand, the process just feels like so different. And now it's getting to a point where I'm like, oh, this is interesting, but it's interesting in a very different way to those really quick ones. I don't know. But I feel like this may be about it for this. How's it going? I definitely Like this is very different than this. um, and this is also something like there are some interesting things about this. I don't feel great about this in terms of the other things I did after it. But that is also something I've come to appreciate. Like this was the first of the quick sketches and this was the last one of that series. And just through that, the practice of doing these sketches, setting a timer, doing one, doing another one, that as we start to notice like things like, there's something about this that doesn't really feel that good. Maybe next time I do it a bit different. Trying different approaches, trying different tools. It's really kind of interesting that within a relatively brief space of time that we've been here together this evening or this afternoon, that you can start to, once we become familiar with different tools, different approaches, different ways of looking at things and drawing, that within that short time frame we can kind of pivot to, like I noticed with this, that with my first one I'm like, well, that's I'm not really content with that. So the next time I'm changing it a bit each time, and that's something which I think is really worth a lot. And I can't change how things are, but if I had done more of this brief stuff earlier on, I think it would have been cool. And the ink is also something that really helped me with this brief stuff. And even this, like getting a feel for it early on, like, oh, that doesn't feel quite right. And thinking about the jawline, like I definitely paid more attention here. And I think in the end kind of maybe came to a closer, I don't know, yeah, lots of interesting things have happened. Gabrielle is too tired. Have I used charcoal? I have, it's been a while. Chris finds it better drawing bigger. Interesting. I'm not sure. I really like drawing big. I have some small drawings where I'm really like, oh, that's nice. Something really, I don't know, it can be really, here's some small ones. And this is with pencil, but I really feel like the way that I think I only used ink for 5 years. And after that, when I came back to working with pencil, the confidence of just like deciding like that's where the line goes. I feel like it brought a really new, it became a really new experience when I returned to pencil, because I would labor over drawings for like weeks, hours and weeks, and then at the end feel like it's not finished. And then the way I'm drawing here is the result of drawing with ink. That then when I came back to pencil, or when I come to watercolor or other media, that then I have like a new kind of confidence in like, okay, I see that, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to kind of adapt and move on. I think it's a great teacher, ink. Yeah, so I feel like that's about it. And I really appreciate being here with all of you. Thank you to everyone who joined in Zoom. Looking forward to the next live as well. Yeah, and right after this, so the early bird, I'm going to share the link. I put it in the description as well. The early bird offer will be open for the next 24 hours. Get in touch if you bought at the full price, and either I can give you 40 back, or you can save 40 on the feedback package, where we get 2 one-on-one calls and also a couple of feedback videos where you send me your work throughout the course, and I will get back to you with what I see. And you can also share your challenges with me. It's a more in-depth experience of going through the course and working together, which I'm really happy to be able to do and share. And thank you to those of you who have already signed up for that experience. And Simona, get in touch with me so I can send you your drawing. And Sandra, you get in touch too. And yeah, so I was going to get the link and put it in the chat, but it's in the description. So the next 24 hours, you can get the early bird price, which is not listed on the website. anymore. So by coming through this link from this live stream, you'll be able to get it. And you can also add on the feedback package if you want. All right, here's the link. I'll put it in the chat. And like and subscribe if you haven't already. And come back here at 10 in the morning, because weekdays I've got my 10-minute portrait practice. Phoebe's off to get a parallel pen. Yeah, I listed, so those of you who have already signed up for the course, there is now, since yesterday, the day before, there has been introductory videos available. And after this, once I end this, I'm going to open up the first module. So if you still have the presence of mind and the state of awakeness to be able to look into it, then you'll be able to do that. Otherwise, get into it tomorrow. Enjoy. Thank you to everyone who's been here. Lewis says, the ink is always a bit indescribable sensation. You don't have absolute control over it. Sometimes it comes out super cool and other times it's almost a puppet. Anyway, thanks Dylan. Thank you, Lewis. I always love seeing what you make. So if you've been drawing along and you feel like sharing, tag me in whatever you post. The course community is now open. You can share your sketches from this session there as well. I'll be uploading the replay by tomorrow. So for those who didn't catch this live, within the course you'll be able to see it there as well. Simona liked it very much. Yeah, write to me on Instagram. Everyone can write. Say hello on Instagram. Thank you for being here. Drawing hand emojis. You can put your favorite emoji in the chat. I like the drawing hand. If you've just been watching, you could put popcorn in or something of your choice. All right. Made by Reb has drawn 4 different people. And that happens. We draw like slight variations, perhaps relatives of the people we're looking at. And with time and attention, then maybe we get closer and closer to being able to draw something that looks like the person that we're looking at. Yeah, Lewis, feel free to share in Discord. For those signed up to the course, there's also a course community, but Discord, I have the Discord server as well. So share there. And I'm going to end the stream now, and I'll stay in Zoom for a minute in case anyone would like to unmute and chat and say anything. So thank you to everyone on YouTube. Rest well. Sign up to the course if you haven't already and would like to join us, because it's going to be a really cool experience the next couple of weeks. If you can't make it to the live sessions, there'll be replays, but they're also going to be a really great part of the course. So I enjoy doing this. Thank you everyone for making it possible and for being here and learning together. It's super fun, and I hope you just have had a great time drawing together, and I'll see you at 10 in the morning tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. All right, Zoom. How are you? How was that? It was fun, says Lizette.